All right. Hi, everyone. Welcome to Monday Night Coaching, Season 3. We have another great guest speaker with us, Keith Keller. Hi. Welcome,
Hey,
welcome.
I talk funny down here. I talk funny.
Well, I am really excited to have you because for those that are not familiar with you, you are almost like our go-to for everything, just learning what's happening out there in the social audio world. So I want to thank you so much for joining us. And for those of you who have not seen any of our promos or don't really know what today's topic is, we're going to go back to the original slide. Today, it is what is social audio? So we're going to be talking about everything social audio events, and Keith's going to break everything down. So make sure you put your questions in the chat. And then if towards the end, if you want to join us live on stage, you will have the chance to do so. Now, Keith, I'm going to put your slide up here, your intro slide. I would love for you to just introduce yourself. Let everyone know more about you if you like.
Yeah, well, I'm in Melbourne, Australia, and my goal is to try new stuff. Like I'm always trying new things. So someone's got to go first, and I'm that person. I mean, so I try a lot of new things, and then I decide whether or not I tell people about them. I do a lot of experiments, and when I have a win, I developed it into a bit of a strategy, and then I do a show about it. So I actually do 3 shows a week using Restream, what we're doing right now. And that is at whereiskeithtoday.com. Because I do so much stuff, people say, mate, I can never keep up with you. Where is Keith today? Right. I thought, I thought that was a cool URL. Whereiskeithtoday.com. So I do 3 shows a week, and I'm always trying new things, right? And some of them are horrible, and I don't let you know about that. But the wins that I have, and we'll talk about this a bit throughout the show, some of these sites, they're extraordinary, but we don't have time to try them. Someone's got to take that time, and that's me. I've got this little pocket of the internet where I've got like a little workshop, if you imagine, like a tinkerer. And I'm just all day, every day trying things. And then when I have a win, I come out of my cave and say, hey, I found something. Eureka! Like Archimedes. So I just made all that up. But that seems like a fairly good synopsis for how I live my life. Would you agree?
I agree. And I would say for those of you that are not connected with Keith on LinkedIn, here is QR code. Make sure you connect with him so that way you can stay tuned to all of the events and all of his research as he share those wins with us. I love it. Well, I'm going to go and shift to our main screen. And for those that are tuning in, let us know you're tuning in live. Keith,
Yeah.
where are you streaming to? What platforms?
Yeah. So I'm streaming to LinkedIn and YouTube. Hi, Amalia. I'm in New Jersey, Paramus. Hello, Merrill. So this is the key question is what we're doing here. This is why I love it. Someone's listening and they can make comments. We're interacting, aren't we?
Absolutely. Now, Keith, have you ever met Meryl before?
No.
Oh my goodness. Meryl is amazing. So let me formally introduce you from the chat to the live stream. So Meryl is amazing when it comes to helping event hosts like ourselves when it comes to community. He's really good at chat, sharing our events. He's just an amazing individual to have in your community. So I would say I would strongly suggest you guys connect and adding him to.
He's a super connector.
He is. He's amazing. And I feel like I embarrass him all the time because every time I see him, I get excited. But when I first started doing events, he was so helpful. You know how we had the LinkedIn audio rooms? It was kind of hard navigating because there was no chat. So we used to do it through messages. And he was amazing. While we were trying to figure out the functionalities of the actual event, he would be so helpful of connecting with individuals, adding them to our group chat, and just welcoming them and keeping that conversation going. So I just want to say he's amazing. Everyone that has Merle in their community that's a host will say the exact same thing. So I always love giving him his flowers when I see him.
Super connectors are so valuable, and
Absolutely.
so valuable
I do
because
see Otto too. Go ahead, Keith. I
yeah,
didn't mean to cut you
no,
off. Go ahead.
Otto's in Cambodia, so we've got a couple of people listening from all over the world: Melbourne, Australia, Detroit, New Jersey, Phnom Penh, Cambodia. How cool is that? Like we're proving our own use case.
I love it. Well, thank you so much for joining us. And Keith, you mentioned you on YouTube now?
Yeah, YouTube. Yep.
Okay. Are you streaming anywhere else or just LinkedIn and YouTube?
YouTube and YouTube and LinkedIn. Yeah.
Now you
And
mentioned Blue Sky earlier. Can you stream to Blue Sky?
not yet. That's what I'm saving my third one for. They haven't acted. It's a very new site, relatively. So I
Okay.
haven't. They haven't got that feature yet, but they will eventually, and I'll be putting it there when I can.
Okay. Well, if you guys are tuning in live, make sure you comment so that way we can give you a shout out and just know that you're joining us. So we can get things started. I think we have a few more comments that came in. Oh, Merle, you are so welcome. Thank you for all that you do. All right, Keith. Well, I'm really excited to jump in because we have a lot of great things to talk about. And I would love to just kick things off with the main question for those that may be new to social audio. So I will ask you, how would you explain
Hmm.
social audio to someone who's never attended an audio event before?
Yeah, look, I've got two really cool analogies here that might help the process. So I love radio. I used to be on the radio, and but people couldn't call in normally. You'd be listening to them very passively. Here's the latest song, and hey, blah blah blah. Well, social audio is like listening to the radio, except you can take part. You can make comments on the side. We can actually have up to 10 guests on Restream, 9 guests, or in this case, 8 guests and a host and a co-host. So it's a very interactive process, as you can see right now. We've got comments on the side. We've got a guest. People can call in later. So the idea of the interactivity, and Meryl will understand this because this is what super connectors live for. We just connect with each other, right? The other thing too is that you can hear me speaking. So social audio is a very good opportunity to tell your story because you can hear what I'm saying. You can hear that I know what I'm talking about, or at least I'm passionate about making it up. But the other thing that I've decided to call this process is podcasting with pictures. Podcasting, which is a very similar idea to this, is very passive. You listen to someone else talking, but you can't ask questions. You're simply listening to that on your device when you're working out or on the train or doing the vacuuming or the lawn or making dinner. It's a very distant idea. But with social audio, you can hear me speaking and you can make comments. And if you want to, you can ask questions and I can answer them. Don't you think that's a miracle, Amalia? Don't you think that's the miracle of social audio?
I do. And to be honest, I almost like this format better than podcasting. I love a good podcast, but having that live interaction makes a difference.
As a host, there's no comparison. Like I've done both. I've got hundreds of podcasts, 204 actually. But you know, I, I'm talking to a wall, and then I put it on SoundCloud or Spotify or something, and people listen to it later. But I don't know who they are. I'll talk about this in a minute because we did a show back in 2008 focusing on this idea. But this interactivity that we're doing now, this interactivity is what I live for. All these people making comments and may eventually come on stage when we finish the sort of the spiel. It's just that's the essence. I just think it's amazing.
And I also love the interaction between those that are tuning in. Like the end of like right now, if you look at the chat, they're talking to one another while they're enjoying the live event at the same time.
That's
So
right.
it
They're not
has
only talking to us; they're talking to each other, aren't they?
it has a real community feel.
Yeah.
So since we're on the topic of the difference, what do you think the difference is between like all of the main things with podcasting and social audio? I know we have the community interaction. Do you feel there's any more things that kind of make them two separate?
Yeah, they're very different. So podcasting, the advantage of podcasting is you can record it and it can be pristine and you can edit it out and it can be perfect and you can have a logo and it's all very, very professional. Good. It's brilliant. Takes a long time. And but it comes out perfect depending on how, perfectionism affects you in your daily life. But with social audio, there's this understanding that this is not going to be perfect. And that's okay. So you sort of ease into the flow. It's a bit like impro. Like I haven't done impro, but I think I'd be pretty good at impro. I wouldn't mind trying it because it's scary. I don't know what I'm going to say next, but I don't know what I'm going to say next. Like there's two sides to that coin. We could go anywhere. And because we can go anywhere, we often go places we wouldn't have thought. And I learn so much. This is why I love it. It's addictive. Like I don't know Melissa, for instance. And I might connect with Melissa now and say, hello, how you doing? I saw you on the show. What are you doing? I don't know where she is, but I'll just check that right now. She's in New York, personal branding strategist on LinkedIn. Like we don't know each other yet, but now we do. So I love the sort of immediacy, the sort of spontaneity of live streaming. And you have to be a little bit sort of courageous because it's not perfect. And I could say something really silly and then it's on the tape. And you can't take it back. So you have to sort of lean into it. But once you lean into it, we can create miracles. Like I've just met a whole heap of new people today that I didn't know.
I agree. And it allows you too to really showcase your personality. Sometimes when you're podcasting and you're trying to be perfect and you're cutting and editing, you don't show as much personality just from, my personal experiences. Yes, if you're doing a podcast with someone else or your guests, you might see a little more personality. But sometimes when you're doing a solo bit with your podcast and things like that, you might find it is more informational and not really conversational to where you can really get a feel for that person's authentic personality. What are your thoughts on that, Keith?
No, this is actually very important. If you can embrace social audio as a guest or a host, then you have a strong chance of getting across your message in a very authentic way. Now, this is scary stuff, but when you do it, when you master this, and it is a sort of a skill to master, suddenly you can turn up. I'll give you an example. I've done hundreds and hundreds, thousands probably of podcasts. And I used to send the questions to people and they would write them out and read them word for word 3 days later. And I'm thinking, that is such a terrible interview. Like, you know exactly what you're going to say. There's no surprises. You're manufacturing your inflections and you're trying to sound like it's live, but it's not. I can tell you're reading. But if, like, a lot of this wasn't planned. These are just, there were some questions, but we're going off on a bit of a tangent now. And you're going to hear the real me. I had my questions all planned and I wrote them out, but I'm going off script now because I can. I'm good at it. I've done it before. So the power of social audio as a host and as a guest, you can do either or both, is that you can be 100% yourself. With podcasting, you can sort of be a a pristine version of yourself, or said, "Oh, I made a mistake there, or do that again." You can spend hours and hours redoing things. I've done that. I know how exactly how it feels to edit the shit out of things. Oh no, that doesn't sound right. I didn't get it right. I better do it again. Well, hang on, Keith. You're going to take all day doing this, but then it'll be right. Then it'll be perfect. You can get. Have you ever done this, Amalia? Have you ever found yourself sort of in perfectionism mode, and you sort of get wound down into some sort of corner of the universe where you never get out? You don't want to put anything out because it's not perfect.
I
Have you
do,
ever had that problem?
believe it or not, I do that with anything that's not live. I do that. I struggle with that with my content, my articles. I find myself rewriting it, rereading it. I'm like, okay, just post it, send it out. It will be okay. With my emails, I feel like with live events, it's like, you know what? You get what you get. This is me. If I mess up on a word, if I stumble, if I blank out, it's okay. We're human. We're not perfect. And this is why I kind of prefer live events. And I love the fact that you mentioned, like, I prepare questions and, like, for example, I put them on screen for content purposes. Like, I do like to have a few questions that display. So if we were to use any clips or anything like that, we have some type of content snippet. But I do not make my entire event scripted. I may just post a question and then we just free talk about it. It's more so just authentic with particular questions. But in the very, very beginning, Keith, I had a script right in my face. I was so nervous.
Yeah, well, you got to. But as you get better, like this is a skill that you can learn. I've learned it. I went to radio school. Like there's a school for radio people, and that I'd be sitting there at 7 o'clock on a Wednesday night, and the guy'd say, "Mate, let's pretend the tech's just gone down. There's nothing. All we've got is a mic and a light. You've got to talk for 3 minutes about giraffes. Go." And there's like 8 people in the room going, "Oh, mate, this is going to be good. This is going to happen to you, Keith. The mic's going to go. You're going to have some tech go wrong. You got to wing it. Practice now in front of 8 people who won't laugh at you." Giraffes, oh, long neck, brown skin, funny dots, live in Africa, eat veggies. Never seen one, but they're pretty funky. Can't find a word that rhymes with giraffe. You know what I'm saying? Practicing ahead of time means that when you're doing this, it's not so scary. And as you do more and more and more, you can be very authentically yourself. And I'm pretty happy with who I am as a person. I've been around a while. I've got nothing to hide. I'm just a guy in Melbourne, Australia, just doing his thing. Nothing to hide. I've got nothing to pretend to be. So I'm just being myself. And some people will resonate with that, and that's good. They can be my friends. Other people won't, and that's okay too. Not everyone gets you. So social audio is just so good for this. It's almost a life hack, I would say. I said that once recently. Social audio is a life hack. Learning to speak on the cuff and be yourself and be happy with yourself. So good for us. Like so good for our happiness.
And
Yeah. Would you agree?
Go ahead, Keith. My apologies. There was a delay.
Would you agree? Would you agree that we've just got to learn to be ourselves and be in the moment and say what we mean?
I agree. And I would love to do like just a testimonial to as far as I did a live social audio event with a client of mine. And they're not really familiar with social audio. They don't do as many, but after she reached out to me and mentioned like, wow, I got so many signups after the event. And people don't realize is that connection you form with just that live event for them to be able to ask you questions live, to really get a chance to relate to your expertise, see your personality, building that trust. You can build trust, but it's difference between reading a post and actually being able to interact with someone. What are your thoughts on that, Keith?
Look, it's an extremely important skill. Like I've done a lot of podcasts, and I had people that would have a script, and I realized later that they were quite early in their career, and they actually didn't have much to say. And I get that when you're very early. But if you've been doing this a few years, there's real power in being able to say, look, that reminds me of a client I had back in 1986 or 1995 or 2005. And you talk about real stories from your life that you've had in the world. Right. Now, that's much more powerful than reading out a script, something that you thought of after dinner one Friday night after a few wines, because, that's when the best stuff happens, right? But it's not real. It's sort of a fabricated version of yourself, the idealized version, which is a good place to start. But as you morph into the real you, the real reason you're here, then people can hear that. And the people that need what you have will come. And the people that don't resonate are not your people. I get it. I think this is important. Would you agree, Amalia, or do you think I'm being a bit of I'm ranting? I like being authentic. I mean, I like hanging out with people that get me, and I don't want to pretend to be someone else just to get get a paycheck. I think there's some power that comes down the line as you get into your zone.
And you know what, Keith? I agree, because one thing we learn, I should say, when it comes in entrepreneurship or having a business, everyone is not going to be for you. You're going to find your tribe, and it makes a difference. And I feel like sometimes we kind of harp on the fact that not everyone loves us, but it's okay if we're not for everyone. It's okay that if you have your tribe, your people, your individual, that's why you have, they say niche down or niches. It's okay. It's okay. And I feel like a lot of people do burn themselves out trying to get everyone to love them, trying to fit in everyone's box. I have to
Well,
be,
all things for all people.
yes. And that is not the way to succeed.
I was, as part of the preparation on the Friday night with the wine, I did come across some really interesting stats, and it's very appropriate that we talk about this. Because if you want to be all things for all people, then you've got to do video, you've got to do audio, and you've got to do a blog, right? That's 3 things that you've got to do, right? But you might not like writing, and might not want to put your face on camera, or you might not like the sound of your voice. Right? So I've always said that the best way to succeed is to do you. And I love talking. I don't like writing. So I don't have a blog. So for the 25% of people, and this is where it's important, 25% of people that like to write or to like to read, I can't help you. I can't help you. I don't like to write. And I don't like to read. That's just not how I process the world. So that's 25% of the people in the world that might not get what I do. But that's okay, because the 25% of people that like to listen to funky Aussie accents in the middle of the night go, man, this guy's funny. He's got that funny way of speaking. I don't know anyone like him. Now that's me. That's unique. This guy from Melbourne, Australia. There'll be a tribe. There'll be a community of people that will get that. So I think just do you, and there'll be a community of people that want that, and it'll be very authentic. They'll get you. Would you agree? Is that a bit dangerous to think of that, or are we limiting ourselves, or do you think you're diving deep?
No, I agree. And that kind of goes into my next question I want to ask you. And you kind of almost answered it already. But my question was, what inspired you to dive into the world of social audio, and how has it impacted your business or brand?
Yeah. Oh, this is a great question, because in 2020, when we had the lockdowns, I'm not going to go into how hard that was for us, but we were locked inside for 23 hours a day, and there was cops on every corner and $200 fine if you left the premises. And some people got very angry about that. But what I did is look, I'm going to adjust. And I did a live streaming show, a live streaming show, 2020. It was called Live Streaming Decoded. And I bought a webcam and I bought a light. And I've got to be honest, I hated it. I'm staring at the screen while I'm trying to look at the comments, and there were 6 people. I mean, I got a headache every day. I got migraines. I'm trying to look at the screen. I'm trying to look at the comments. I'm trying to sound like I know what I'm talking about. I'm trying to navigate the switchboard. My brain just blew up. Woke up with a headache like every day. And then someone said, to talk about being authentic, why don't you just turn the camera off and do this thing called social audio? Right. And because I'm on Twitter and I'm an Android person, why don't you do this thing called Twitter Spaces? Twitter has this thing called Twitter Spaces. You don't need to put your video on, Keith. You just use your phone and you do these little shows. And I said, wow, that sounds cool. This is like October 2021. And I did it. And I loved it. I did 6-hour shows. My highest score is 600 people online live, and we went for 6 hours. This is a true story. That's my highest score. And people are going, how are you doing that? I says, it's so effortless for me. It was so effortless. I might have someone take over for 10 minutes while I make a cup of tea or have a sandwich. But, we went hours and hours and hours and hours. And then Twitter, turned into something else. And then LinkedIn, as you know, and this is where we know each other, LinkedIn audio events came out January 2023. I was probably the first person in the world to try them, one of the first. And they weren't very good. But, it was LinkedIn, 1 billion users. And here we are on LinkedIn. And you and I both, in December 2024, said, man, what do we do now? LinkedIn turned it off. It was so good. We were having so much fun. And what did you do, Amalia? This is a very good segue into how we know each other and what people on the call can learn. LinkedIn turned off this magnificent feature that we love doing. And we had to adjust, didn't we? And that's a sort of a good story because we did. We are.
No, I agree. I feel like it made us, I should say the audio community, it brought us together even closer. I know we attend each other's events, but I feel like we started paying attention more to each other's pages, seeing what one another was doing, who was going to Clubhouse, who was going to StreamYard, Restream, as people were testing out things and putting just their feedback and insight or glitches or tech. I feel like we came together as a community. And you guys let me know in the comments if you feel that way too. But I actually feel closer to like Felipe and the Leslie Flowers, and then just like the community. We actually start building out our own communities. I think you have a community. You use, which one do you use? Is it Discord?
Discord. No, I use Discord. Yeah.
You use Discord. I know a few others have their own communities. I still love his events as well. So it's kind of like we became like a super community within LinkedIn almost.
And I think the example there that LinkedIn went away, Twitter became something else, this will happen. And I know this because I've been doing this since 2006. So in a year's time, Restream will turn into something else and we may morph. And that's part of the process. But there's always a thread. There's always this essence. And the essence is that I love to talk. And I don't particularly want to show my face. I'm not embarrassed by my appearance. I just don't want to. And I don't like to write. I just don't. That's just not how I process the world. So at the moment, we're using Restream and we're sending the file to LinkedIn and YouTube. And we can send it to Facebook and Twitch and Twitter and TikTok as well, which is a perfect segue into one of your other questions about multi-streaming. I'd just love to hear you explain that because I think this is the coolest thing that's possibly ever happened on the internet. Big story, big comment, multi-streaming. What do you think of it?
I feel like multi-streaming pushed me out my comfort zone and expanded my audience. Whenever I get excited when I see a comment come in and I see the YouTube circle, I'm like, oh, someone's on my YouTube page. So It is a very, I know people were like hesitant, and I agree, Felipe. I do miss the audio rooms, but I feel like multi streaming just changed the game because I love like Keith, you and I, we've really have taken it to the next level. Even if we're not guest speaking, sometimes we will still stream each other's events to get a broader reach for individuals, especially within our community. And we started multi streaming, and I feel like we should put up a word like partner streaming almost, because even if we're not a part of the event or speaking at the event or physically being shown, it's still on some of our platforms as support. So we're just expanding the voices within our communities with multi-streaming.
Yeah. And and it's all sequential. So you start with one show on LinkedIn and you get your feet wet and you get sort of settled and you go, well, I'm sending it to LinkedIn. I could easily send it to YouTube. I could easily send it to Facebook. So you just start and then you send the same file to LinkedIn. There's quite a lot of differences between LinkedIn audio events, and a lot of people here have said that they miss them, and we would be the first to advocate and agitate for LinkedIn bringing them back. I'm not convinced they will, but we do miss them. But the idea of multi-streaming, in terms of reach, if you've got a message, well, it's a very important discussion. Like, I love what I do, and I love meeting new people. And we could have done that with LinkedIn audio events. But with multi-streaming, I can send this file to my LinkedIn page and my YouTube channel, and eventually to Blue Sky when they add that feature, etc., etc. But the most important thing to remember about multi-streaming in this context with Restream is that we can have 10 guests and they can send it to their people we don't know, people we could never reach because they're not following us. So if other people come on the call later, they can send this file to their LinkedIn account, to their YouTube channel, to their Facebook group, to their X account, up to 3 each. So if we had a full room of 10 people, we could reach 30 different sites simultaneously with the same effort. It's a bit of a game changer when you get your head around it. You're just going further. And as Melissa said, we do miss them, but we're evolving. So when LinkedIn audio events went away in December, it took me a while, but I flipped it and I looked at, I said, okay, what's in it for us? What's going? This has happened. We have to adjust. What's in it for us? What are the advantages of this new format? And in a way, that's what we're talking about today. We've had a bit of a go at it. It's April already. Actually, it's April here. It's not April there yet. Like, we've crossed over. We're on the line. So we've crossed over. Like, we're so far ahead. It's a different month. I've never had that experience before, but we're so far ahead. It's a different month. It's April in Australia. Do you know that? It's April in Australia. So we've tried it for 3 months. We've worked it out. And now we're coming back and we're doing a bit of a masterclass in a way, aren't we? For those that haven't tried it.
Absolutely. And you know what? As the LinkedIn audio queen, I hate to say this. I hate to be the one to say this. I wouldn't go back to the old way of doing things, just to be honest, because I do like the fact of my guest speakers having the ability to stream the event on their platforms. I do like the visibility I get because for those that know me, I'm all about support. And sometimes having that event, yes, it's private, but we've like Melissa said, we evolve. So now we have things like Go Brunch. If we want a safe space or a private space for like your after party that we sometimes do after events, if you want a more private conversation, but we still get to have that full visibility with the multi-streaming. So I do like the options.
Yeah. And LinkedIn audio events, to be very fair, were never great functionally. Like in Australia, I don't know if this happened to you, but in Australia, I was kicked out of my audio events on average every 6 minutes. I know I timed this one, so I did a 2-hour show. I was kicked out 15 times in 2 hours. Kicked out of my own show on LinkedIn. And other people go, oh, there he is. He's gone again. I'm just going to have to wing it for hopefully he can come back. And here we are just winging it while Keith's getting his signal back. And there he is. He's back. How you going? Did I miss anything? Look, let's grab it while I can because I'm going to be gone in 6 minutes. I feel like the time traveler's wife. Have you seen that movie? You know, where the guy just disappears out of nowhere and turns up a week later?
Yes, I've seen it.
So it was never great. So for all that we've missed, we've got more back. We've got a chat for a start. We've got visuals. We've got a replay on YouTube. So I guess we need to flip it and look for the good in the process.
And it's okay with evolving. I love the good. And I feel like this new structure is very good for us entrepreneurs or business if you're using audio events to kind of build that trust or build authority. Or like you mentioned, a lot of us, well, I should say in the beginning, I failed at call of actions. Like sometimes I'll get into the conversation and then I forget at the end to say what to do next or announce something. Well, when you already kind of have a slide pre-made or QR codes, it's very seldom that you will forget to mention like, hey guys, remember to go and scan the QR code or make sure to tune into where Keith Keller is today or things like that. So we can really highlight those things that we used to forget. And I love the fact that you mentioned the tech glitches, Keith, because I feel like every host that used to host LinkedIn audio rooms had their tech spill. Okay, try to jump out, jump back in. Okay, put your hand down, try to raise it again. We're going to try to bring you up on stage. We've all had that whole tech spill, and I think that took time, especially if you had like a guest speaker. I think most of us had like a 5-minute tech when it came to LinkedIn audio rooms. Please let me know in the chat if you've ever had that time dedicated for those tech glitches.
Yep. So, you know, people are saying it's quite common 6 or 8 times in an hour, we'd be kicked out of our own show. Amazing. This is our show. Like we're in charge and we're kicked out. Very embarrassing, right? But we persevered and we kept going because it's LinkedIn, 1 billion users. I've got a new slide for LinkedIn, 1.1 billion users now. And it's a huge audience. So I'm very excited about the new changes and I've embraced them quite thoroughly. And they will evolve. And Restream's, I believe, the best of the bunch. They're really pushing hard on this new format. They've embraced it. And they've done this cartoony thing for us, haven't they?
Absolutely. And since we're kind of on the topic of like just coaches and entrepreneurs, I would love to get your insights on this question, Keith. And what are some creative ways entrepreneurs and coaches can use social audio to build community and generate leads? I get this question a lot, so I would love to hear your input on it.
So I think the thing to remember, and let's take the point of view of LinkedIn. There's other sites, of course. You can send this file, social audio, to any other site. Instagram, 2 billion users. Facebook, 3 billion users. YouTube, 2.5 billion users. But in this instance, LinkedIn, 1 billion users. 300 million people use LinkedIn every day. Right? And there's people in your town that are on LinkedIn. Probably about 50% of people in your town are on LinkedIn. Right? They use it. So social audio is a chance to have a conversation as a two-way flow where you can express your opinion, your point of view, your expertise, and other people can ask questions of you in real time. And that will, by definition, generate leads. Hey, this guy knows what he's talking about. He's the real deal. I'm going to ring him. Let's go and have a coffee. Mate, you're good. I get you. You know what you're talking about. I'll shout your pizza. Let's go out. So the concept of getting leads will happen naturally if that's your goal, because people can hear that you're real. I do know what I'm talking about, and I don't mind telling you that. That's not ego. It's just me doing it for 20 years. I'm just sharing what I've done. And you can hear it in my voice. You can hear it in my passion. So if this is what you need, we can have a chat. And it's going to naturally generate leads. So I guess the social audio component, I think it's the evolution of content in a way. I can do a podcast and I can talk very efficiently with a funky little header and a beginning and an end. It can sound brilliant. You can listen to it on the train. And that might give you some impression that I'm pretty powerful, or that I know what I'm talking about, or at least made myself sound that way. But it might not inspire you to do anything. It might be just something to listen to on the train, or while you're working out, or while you're walking the dog. But with social audio, there's a very real human connection, especially if the people are on the call. You can watch the replay if you want to, but if they're on the call and they go, yeah, I've got a question. You've made a point, and I really want to pick up on this. This is my burning question. I've never been able to get this answer. Have you got an answer? And then you solve it and you go, man, that's been sort of hanging around for 6 months. You ever had that experience, Molly, where you sort of solved a person's problem and the light bulb went off?
Absolutely. And I feel like those are the moments I enjoy the most, especially when we can get people on stage live and have that conversation. It just brings more purpose to the event.
And not all hosts are up for that, but we can have up to 8 guests now. And to me, that's my favorite part.
And speaking of your favorite part, I just posted the link in the chat. So if you want to invite individuals on your stream to join us, they can.
All right, I'll do that. So if you want to ask any questions, we can actually have up to 8 people on the call. You can answer. You can do this in the chat. You can ask questions in the chat. But if you want to be part of the discussion live, where we're doing it now, how do you process this? You've got probably a different hosting style to me. Do you like to answer questions in the chat, or do you love it when people come up on stage?
I like both. I know people comfortability is different. So I like for them to join us live if they feel comfortable, or if they can put their questions in the chat. I just posted Zakia's question on the screen for you to answer. That's perfect because that was one of our ending questions too.
Yeah.
And I would love, as we start sharing the link, if you want to let them know, where do you see social audio going this year? And then I would love to segue into different ways they can actually do social audio. So
Yeah. So look, I think social audio as a concept will always be here because, and I know this for my own sake, not everyone loves video. In spite of what you're thinking, in spite of what you're seeing on LinkedIn and what Zakia calls the TikTokification of the world, not everyone in the world wants to see videos in 16:9 or 9:16. I don't watch videos. Shock, horror. Am I the only one? No, I'm not. So about 25% of the world says, I want to listen to you speaking. And many of them want to be part of the discussion. So the reason why social audio will always be here in some format is that a lot of people don't want to come on camera to ask that question. I don't mind asking the question, but I don't necessarily want you to see me in my jammies at 9:00 at night. And so social audio gives us a freedom to participate in the world wherever we are. And I'm saying 9:00 at night because I'm guessing it's probably about that now in the US. But it's 11 o'clock in the morning here. I've had breakfast and a shower, and I'm normal again. But at 9:00 at night, there might be nothing on TV, and you just jump into a show, and you've got a question. This is why I think social audio will always exist. And with that in mind, we just need to consider how it evolves itself. It probably doesn't answer this question directly, but I do think it will always exist. Would you agree, Amalia? What do you think? Where do you think it might go?
Honestly, I feel like it'll just keep evolving. I'm so glad Richard joined us on stage because just the new things that we're doing with social audio, which is his community that he built, Go Brunch. I was very amused, and I've actually started transitioning a lot of my coaching calls to audio format. I even have an audio. I know that people are going to think I'm crazy, but for me who loves audio, I actually have an audio corporate office. I can post a link if you guys want to look. It's pretty cool, and I built it out through Go Brunch, but it's like my own little audio world to where you can do coaching, one-on-one, office hours, workshops, and it was very easy for me to build. And a lot of my clients say, I love this. It's more interactive. I don't have to feel pressure to be on camera. Because let's be honest, sometimes when you're on Zoom and someone has their camera on, it's just that blank space, just you and them. You almost kind of feel like you're being rude almost if you don't cut on your camera. If they do not tell you it's okay, you can keep it off.
It's a very good segue because the broadcast style 7:45 in the East Coast, so not bad, about 7:45. Um, the broadcast style only suits certain personalities. Naturally, this is the evolution of social audio. Naturally, we will want to go somewhere private. And that's why it's so cool that Richard is here because he has gobrunch.com, which is a private version of what we're doing. It's the natural evolution of what we're doing here, I reckon. Would you agree, Amalia, that eventually you want to take it somewhere private?
Absolutely. I almost feel like it's the new private format, the way LinkedIn audio rooms used to be. What do you think, Keith?
Well, LinkedIn audio didn't record. And
Well,
a
oh
lot
yeah,
of
that's
people
true.
a lot of people hated that, but I tell you what, that was my favorite part because I knew that when anyone came in, they could just say what they were saying, and there was no record of that in the public forum. LinkedIn did record it for safety reasons, but they never released it. And so there was no way for anyone ever to be heard again. And what happened there is that conversations were extraordinary. And that's probably what people are missing.
Mm-hmm.
These extraordinary, off the cuff, in the moment conversations. You catch someone at home in a moment where they've got time to talk, but they're not guarded by their professional persona. It was amazing, and I do miss that. And Go Brunch, I think, fills that gap. Would you agree, Richard? This is your show, Amalia. I'm not going to throw to the guests, but I would say that Go Brunch is very strong at filling that gap, and that's probably why you've embraced it so quickly.
And I would say, Keith, go for it. You can throw it. We're featuring you tonight, so feel free.
Would you
Richard, I
agree,
can.
Richard? Yeah. Do you think that Go Brunch could be that conduit for people that miss LinkedIn audio events? Did you ever do them? Did you ever come to my shows and notice how I dropped out every 10 minutes?
Yeah, that's a very good question, right? And I was actually expecting to ask you guys some questions, but like, okay. Um, I think we are building a very cool community, right? Like, with a lot of opportunities. And I love the questions that I'm all asking about, how to generate leads, or at the end of the day, networking. It's something that many times we don't know exactly what kind of results we're going to get, right? And these communities that we have in Gold Branch, I'm trying to connect them, right? Because many of them, they are kind of isolated, and say, hey, why don't we connect everything together? Because if we do that, we have like a small LinkedIn right inside of it. And that's the kind of thing that I'm trying to leverage inside the platform, like, gathering people and showcasing. Now we are building a kind of a directory, which is really cool for showcasing different services and different businesses. But I have a question for you guys, right? Just for us to keep in the line here, especially because you both are experts in social audio. My strategic question for you is: what we are having here is can be considered as a social audio, especially because we don't see people who are attending unless they comment, right? They add comments. I'm very curious to, hear from you.
What's the question though?
What we have here right now, this format here, do you consider that
Oh,
as
I
social
do.
audio, or because we don't see the participants, right? We don't see as before.
Ah,
This is not exactly social audio. This is just like, I don't know what it is, right? But I'm very curious to hear that, right? And hopefully more people will jump in just to share
yeah.
their
Let's
opinions,
pick up on
because
this.
I don't know.
This is a very key point, just for those people who don't know what we're saying here. With LinkedIn audio events and Twitter Spaces, which became X Spaces, you could see who was on stage and you could see who was in the audience. You can see who was in the audience, and you could say, "Hey, Amalia, I see you're in the audience. If you got time, come up. Hey, come up. Come on down." Right? Whereas with this format, we are talking, and unless you comment on the side, we have no idea who's listening. And unless you agree to come on stage, you're sort of invisible. And this is sort of what you're saying, Richard, isn't it? That is this still social audio? Because I know one of the things you like, and Margaret especially likes, is you like to be able to call out who's listening and thank them for being part of it. And you must miss that with this format, right?
Yeah, I think the magic, right? I think many people here, Amalia was just mentioning, how amazing this social audio was, and it was amazing. And, one of the things that was magical is that people would say hi to you, people would welcome you, right? And at the end of the day, as especially, I think everyone here, right? We want to feel special, right? We don't want to feel just like one number in an event and nobody's seeing you, right? And that's the main difference, because we cannot see people, we cannot welcome people, we cannot say their names unless they're commenting. I'm wondering if this is still considered a social
Oh,
audio
what do you
event.
think, Amalia?
Let me ask
What a
you
great
this,
question,
Amalia.
Amalia. Jump in. I would say yes, it's social, it's audio, it's a format that I can live with. But what do you think, Amalia? Because we can't see the audience, is it still considered social audio?
I would still consider it a social audio event because it's still interactive. And I feel like because the host is aiming for it to be a social audio event, we are encouraging the communication. We are encouraging you to join us live on stage. We are encouraging you to comment. We just mentioned earlier how the viewers were engaging with one another. They're socializing in the chat. We're sharing, for example, we're putting it on the screen, we're highlighting them, we're making them a part of the event. So I feel like it depends on the host. If you totally ignore the chat, if you totally just not highlight your community that's tuning in, and if you do not allow anyone on screen, you're just live streaming, right? It's like an audio live stream. But if you're actually allowing those that are tuning in to be social, to be a part of the conversation, then I feel like that's what bridged that gap to start crossing over into social audio.
You'll love this, Richard. I had this friend of mine who's a bit of a nerd. You'll love this, Amalia. This is so funny. He used to do these Twitter Spaces when it was called Twitter. And what he did was this is a true story. When he actually started the conversation, he would put his phone upside down and in the corner, and he would talk for an hour, and he wouldn't even acknowledge that people were listening. And then at the end, he would stop. And he never at any time during that call acknowledged the people and asked for questions. And I thought, man, what are you doing? What is the point of that? Well, I just got a free podcast out. It cost me nothing. And I just spoke for an hour. I got my message out. Well, who? Who was listening? I don't know who's listening. I don't care. I just wanted to speak. And this is a true story. This actually happened. And I remember having almost like an argument with him, thinking, mate, don't you get it? Don't you get the point? The point is that there's people listening and they want to ask questions, and the questions are the point. This is exactly the difference that we talked about earlier with the podcast. What he had done there was just basically a podcast. And he wasn't interested in people listening or asking questions. He just wanted to get the word out and get it out there. Completely wrong idea. So I think we've got a middle ground, and it does bother me a little bit that I can't see who's online and who's listening, but we do get that sense from the people in the comments. And please make comments, because that does help us understand who's listening. We do want you to make comments. Do you want to pick up on this comment of Adrienne's about StreamYard and audio events and Go Brunch and how things are different? Because this picks up on Zakia's message about where do you think social audio will go?
Are you referring to me or Richard or who's
Both.
that?
I'll lead if you like. So Adrian said, "What wouldn't it be great to have our various options available: audio rooms, StreamYard, Go Brunch, etc." So this is picking up on Zakia's question: where is social audio going? It's going in a direction where we have choices. It could be ROI, it could be lead generation, it could be community building, it could be broadcasting because it's fun and you like the sound of your own voice. It's really up to us. It's really up to us. What do you think? Where do you think it's going, Amalia? Picking up on these various choices we now have.
I'm actually on multiple social audio platforms. So I do Clubhouse on Thursdays for LinkedIn Mastery with the TLB Club. I do my Monday night coaching restreams. I've even guessed, like, for those that do StreamYard, it almost is like the same as Restream, but I should say I favor Restream, so I've done that before. But I noticed mostly it's video when it comes to StreamYard. There's not really audio only. I usually see that more with Restream, and then a Go Brunch. So I do my co-working spaces and things like that. So I'm kind of everywhere, and I do like the options.
Yeah. It's very good because we are multidimensional beings, and time is where it is for us. What about you, Richard? Where do you see it going? Restream, StreamYard, Go Brunch, audio rooms. Where do you see this evolving to?
It's a very interesting perspective. I think at the end of the day, we are not looking for the community. We are not looking for the platforms. We are looking for the communities. Because I remember that you shared with me, Keith, like a kind of a dashboard that Twitter has, right? X has,
Yeah.
where you can see and you can find a lot of different shows from everywhere in the world about a lot of different topics. But let's say Adrian is browsing this dashboard, right? And say, let me see what is happening right now. What happened is that we don't know these people, right? We don't know exactly, what they're talking about. If we join on one of these shows and if you're not noticeable, right? Um, it's not something that worth it, right? Like we just feel like we are not special.
Wow.
And that's the thing. I think it's not about having more platforms. I think it's more having more communities that care about us.
I love where you're going with that. I wouldn't have got that on my own because I love tech. My job is that I'm always trying new things because I love trying new things. But I think you're right. I don't know if you know about this one, Amolia, but what Richard was referring to is there's a product called Spaces Dashboard. Right. This is an amazing site. Like, it's worth seeing it just for it to know what it is. So a guy in England, when Twitter was called Twitter, invented a product that allowed you to see every single Twitter space on at that time. When that happened, it was about 1,280 Twitter spaces simultaneously. And he had, I'll go and have a look now and see if it's still going. And he's a mate of mine. I know who he is. And so what you would do is you would go to spacesdashboard.com and it would show you exactly how many shows were on at this exact moment in time. And you could go to them. But what Richard was saying is, well, that's fine. You could go to a show right now, but you don't know who it is. You don't know anyone in the room, and you don't really feel part of the team. And that's sort of what you were talking about, isn't it? That this is the missing ingredient that actually no one talks about. We actually want to go somewhere
Yep.
where we do know the people. So spacesdashboard.com still exists. And right at this second in time, there are 1,779 shows on X at this exact second. Right now, he's even gone deeper, and he tells you what languages they are. So English is 448, Arabic 437, Japanese 305, Turkish 125. So you could go to any number of these shows, but what Richard has just said is absolutely correct. These people do not know you. So you're not getting an experience. You're just sort of listening to something, aren't you? I never thought of that, Richard. I never would have thought of that myself. But community is the missing ingredient, isn't it?
I think it is. That's what I have been writing about and thinking about. I think, community is the missing ingredient. And I think I agree with Adrian. I really feel like there's a gap, or, we need more possibilities, more opportunities, more people inviting us. And it's interesting because before LinkedIn Audio, I tried Clubhouse, but I think I was late because I know many of you guys, you joined it like when Clubhouse was peaking, like during the pandemic, right? And it had a lot of different big events that you could join. But now it's barely impossible for you to do that if you don't have like strong connections. Because I try, I think two or twice or three times, like just trying to browse and see, oh, okay, I have to make friends first. Okay, let me see here. And then you don't find friends, and then you don't find the houses. And at the end of the day, you cannot do anything because you don't have the proper connections, right? And that's when I found LinkedIn, because it was like a referral, or say, hey, LinkedIn audio or audio events on LinkedIn are getting better and better. I know a lot of cool people, and you should join. I was like, okay, let's try. Right. And the first show that I joined, it I think was a little bit cold, but the second one, I'll never forgot, because it was like two people who I never seen before. They said my name, and I remember the lady saying, guys, connect with Richard. He's super cool. I haven't said one word. See, that's what is, making people feel special, right? You don't even know the person is saying, like, this person is super cool. Connect with him, right? Connect with them. And that's, the kind of mark that we have once we participate on these, remarkable events.
Wow. Wow. That puts a lot of things in context. Now, I've written there in the comments, community is the missing link. So to answer the actual question of where do you think social audio will go, and Richard sort of alluded to this, there'll be other platforms, and they'll have slightly different features, and they'll have different names and different price points. But what we're really wanting at the essence is we want to have a community. And would you agree with that, Amoli? Do you think that's the essence of what we've always been chasing with all of these different sites?
I agree. And as you guys were speaking, I was thinking to myself, the best way to evolve in a more positive direction is for these sites to listen, these platforms to listen to us and build in those communities. So, like right now, we have a chat, but it would be nice if we could actually see the names of who's tuning in, even if it's not in a private space of our own. Just give us the ability to be able to network. Restream is partnered with LinkedIn, right? Well, the viewers can see the networking tab, but make it to where Restream on our end, we can also connect live without opening two different tabs. Like make it fully integrated if this is something you're going to offer as a partnership, to where we can still engage with our community. I would love to see that evolution.
It does, just in case you haven't run a show here on this format, as a host, it sometimes feels like you're talking at the wall, doesn't it, Amoli? We don't know who's listening. We actually don't know what's going on. It's actually quite a sort of a hollow, lonely place sometimes, isn't it? Do you feel that?
I agree. And this is why you always hear us say it so many times. Please comment. Please let us know you're here, because we want that interaction. We want to see your questions. We want to know where you're tuning in from. We want to get as much interaction because, like you mentioned, Keith, community is the main thing that we seek. We want to give value, but we want to give value to our community.
Yeah. And why don't we bring some more people up on stage? We've got room for up to 10 people, 7 more if you want. And Adrian, for instance, was saying she had trouble accessing Clubhouse. I remember having this discussion. It was very good at the time, right at the time. But for instance, I'm an Android user. So when Clubhouse first came out, it was iOS only. You had to have an iPhone or an iPod or an iPad, an Apple product. Just completely useless for me. So for about 12 months, I was completely outside the loop. Even if I wanted to join, I couldn't, other than buying an iPhone. So, like Richard was saying, we just couldn't take part. So it was very sort of elitist, which is exactly the opposite of what I believe the world could be or should be. So Clubhouse didn't work for me at all, and it just didn't resonate for me. But I'm going to send the link to a few people in the back channel, but this is exactly what we talk about with LinkedIn audio events. Unless people join manually by clicking a link, which I have to send to you, no one can join. And so the conversation gets a little bit stilted at times because there's not fresh commentary, is there? And do you feel this when you do shows, Amelia? How do you encourage the conversation or do you have trouble keeping it going?
Far as getting them on stage or just keeping the
Yeah.
conversation? So you see, I have the ticker. I encourage them because I think some people don't know if this is an event where you can't come on stage because some people are different. So I like to have the ticker. I also have like different things to where I have like signs and everything to say, come on stage, join us. I will sometimes comment in the sections, but it is a lot. I would love to have it to where, since I always say this, since LinkedIn is now paired and partnered with Restream, can we have a button to where it'll make easier for people to just join us on stage, to where we do not have to go on our phone devices or another tab? Can you make it easy for people to join the stream since we're already integrated in some type of way?
Actually, let's pick up on this. People who haven't done this before won't know this idea, but when guests join, we as the host have the ability to say, do you want to let them, the guest, send this file to their LinkedIn page? And we say yes or no. A button, Amelia. Imagine if we had that same button that said, can guests join the stream? Yes or no. And we just have this on button that people go, can I join, please? Click, hand up. Can I join, please? Because on LinkedIn audio events, you raised your hand and let the host know that you wanted to join, and then you came up on stage and it was glorious. I might actually recommend that to Restream. One of the things I will say, if you're thinking of doing this, because I've tried them all, I personally think that Restream does this the best, and I would agree that they're really moving forward. And Bez has joined. Would you agree with that, Bez? Is a Restream the best one doing this? Are you doing LinkedIn audio events?
I haven't started yet. I just finished a 10-week career sprint, so I'm just breathing. We finished up on Friday, and we had a little celebration this afternoon. And so, yeah, I need to. I am thinking about doing a live stream at least once a week. So that's on, where my head is at. But whether it just be 100% audio, I'm have yet to decide. I'm still thinking about that. But yeah, thanks for the question. Good question.
We mentioned before, and Richard said this, and we're sort of leading the charge, that community is the missing link, because someone had asked earlier, maybe 10 minutes ago, where do you think social audio is going, right? And we all agree on the call that really it doesn't matter what happens with the tech, there will be changes. But the end at the end of the day, we really just want a community. Whether it's StreamYard or Twitter Spaces or Spaces Dashboard or any number of other sites, at the end of the day, we want a community. And I'm just wondering, where do you think linked social audio will go? And even for you, as it might not be audio, it might be video. I know I've seen you doing some gigs with Madeline Scalar, and she puts a video on. I think that's a Zoom call. So
That's
there's no wrong or right.
that's a restream. Yeah, I think it's restream
Okay.
or yeah.
But it is video, yeah?
Yeah, video.
Yeah. So social audio occupies a section of the community that want to come and speak but don't want to put their video on.
Yeah.
If you don't mind putting your video on, that also gives you a whole lot of other choices. But where do you think this format will go naturally? This has been a theme we've been chatting about today. Where do you
mean
think
the
this?
social audio part, like what you're doing
Yeah.
today?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. I think it has a lot of potential because we just finished. I mean, there are a lot of social audio apps. People are, we're into Clubhouse, and then Clubhouse, went through a few iterations, lost a few people, and of course, people aren't. People aren't locked down in the pandemic, so everybody's suffering from those numbers. But the other thing too is, Twitter or X now. Some people don't want to be on there, so they're trying to find another platform. And I think you showcasing that you can do audio as if it were a live stream and not use the video is a possibility. So I think you are, sharing the possibilities, and you're giving people ideas that, hey, I could do an audio show. I think to your question, where is it headed? I think it's headed wherever you want to take it, right? So if at the end of the day you want to establish a community, this is, you could take these top of funnel activities, which this is how I sort of view things like this. You're trying to get an audience to bring people, your community. Like I said, you want to, right? Maybe you just want to do audience stuff, right? And that's okay too. But if Richard's here, so if you want to drive people to some place where you can commune with them, then this is as good as any. If this is your style, I think you could do great this way. So yeah, love it.
It is one of the questions. It is one of the themes we discussed today, that the natural evolution of broadcasting is community. It's the natural evolution that, not everyone wants to just broadcast all the time. Eventually, we will want to come back to a private conversation with the diehards, with the the people that really get it. And I think that's where Go Brunch fits in. I think that's right. Restream and Go Brunch are very much partners, not technically yet, but they're very relatable. Like restreaming to YouTube and LinkedIn has a particular feel, and many people won't come up on stage now, and I've noticed this because it is being recorded. I noticed this. That was the first thing I noticed about the new format. Because it's recorded, the amount of people coming on stage drop right off because people are scared. Well, I don't want to talk. I might say something stupid, and then it's on the tape.
Keith,
so if you went to
no, I have a thought, but go ahead, finish your thought. I'm sorry for interrupting.
No, I think this is so. I think community is the natural evolution of broadcasting. This is in many ways part one. It's not the end. But what I was going to say, and I know you agree with me on this, is that whatever happens next in 2026 or 2030, we always have to have the mindset that this particular show, this particular format of show might go away. We always have to have a plan B. For me, that is blue sky. But you always have to have a second. Would you agree that we have to always be thinking laterally, that we need a second home in case one goes away or falls over?
I think we all learned the hard way, right, Keith, when Twitter became X, and I know a lot of friends of mine left the platform, and you included. I mean, this is where you made your living at for many, many years, and I remember you going through that, and you didn't have a plan B, and you started to go through your testing and iterations, and I think we've had long conversations around this, that it shows that whatever we're building, we got to be careful and thoughtful if we're building it on rented land, because it could go away tomorrow. LinkedIn could go away. I mean, so what's our plan? So you 100% hit it on. But before we get too far, because I love where you're going with this, but I wanted to, before we get away, and then what my thought to a comment you had, it will become irrelevant very quick. You were saying how, this may lead to community audio. And do you remember the TV show called Lost?
Yeah, I never watched it, but I heard there was tell me where you're going with that. It was very big.
Okay, so there's this guy in Kentucky that him and his wife started a podcast discussing Lost. After they would analyze it and talk about, like, so and so did this, we think it's like who's, how people, when they get into a show, and it was back then when not so much in demand was there, but not so much. What ended up happening is, you probably know him, Cliff Ravenscraft. That's how he got started. He's just started discussing the show with his wife, and he said where he put it, they came back to, hey, what's going on? Because it blew up. It they gave him a bill of thousands and thousands of dollars. He's like, wait, what? But like, literally, his podcast blew up because they were talking about Lost. What just happened there? Like, a community was developed overnight because there was this couple that watched the show Lost. They would then either that evening or the next day talk about the show, and it was like gangbusters. It was an instant community, and when what you said made me realize that, hey, I know of an incident that happened a while back, and it started with voice, a la podcast, and it led to this crazy community.
Yep.
Think
because
about
they had that in common, didn't they? They all liked this show called Lost.
But it started with voice. But it started with voice.
Wow, I didn't know this story. This is brilliant.
I have a question for Baz. Like, you mentioned last week, Baz, something very powerful. I think it's worth for you to share here with us, which is people need a space, right? Like, we were just chatting about the experience that you had, right, with 5 weeks. I actually forgot about, right? And you were just mentioning how important it is for people to have a space. And by space, I'm just, thinking about a place, a continuous place for them to share with people that they know, they trust, and like a safe space.
I everything's relative, right, Richard? It's like everybody is in a different phase of their life, and we all go through that, right? And in different wherever we are at in our life, we may need something to get us through, right? And and I thought, oh well, this was a career space for 10 weeks, 5 days a week, Monday through Friday. And I had been testing stuff, and that was feedback I was getting. So I was like, that people enjoyed these spaces, and they weren't negative like a lot of people thought. Oh, I'm going to go into a space that they're all complaining. They actually, the feedback I was getting when I was testing for the last several years was that they were actually very uplifting, and it was and not everybody didn't have a job. Some people did, but they didn't like their job, and then some people didn't have jobs or were looking for a job, but they were all cheering each other on, supporting each other. It was I knew that that could become what this space was, and it did, a safe space. And we it was here on the Go Brunch platform. I chose Go Brunch because I just felt it's the best place, and it worked well. I didn't want everybody in there; I just wanted the people that would register and wanted to be there, and it was a core about 13 to 16 will show up every day, and they didn't have to. I had people waking up as even though it was 9 in the morning for us in New York time, it was 6 a.m. for some people, and there was like two or three that would show up every day at 6 a.m. And I'm like, wow. So I think when people are in certain phases of their life, they're gonna look for spaces, rooms, whatever you call it, to satisfy that need to get the support, or just to be in rooms of like-minded individual. It could just be that maybe it's not even support. Maybe it's that they maybe it does tie back to support. Anyways, I love the question. I think to your question, I think there's a need for everybody for some space, including those that watch a TV show and really want to hear someone's thoughts about it, right? Because while you're sharing your thoughts, they're like, no, that's wrong, or that's right, or yeah, I'm thinking the same way. They're having a conversation in their mind with you, right? And now we have an interactive platform. So many of them back in those days, Keith, remember, there wasn't a lot of interactivity. There was no way to do that, and now there is. So yeah, great question, Richard. I think yeah, you're 100% right. Yeah.
Now, I know Amoli has got some things to do there. Do you want to wrap up and give us the skinny on what was the main highlights for you and what we'll do next? I'm going to have a quick break, and then I've got an after party starting in about 30 minutes. So I can start that early, though. What we can do is wrap it up here. We can all have a 10-minute coffee break, and then we'll come back and regroup for those that want to keep the conversation going. What do you think are the main highlights here for you, Amalia, and where do you want people to go next after this?
I love the fact that you mentioned that the missing link is community. And I would love to highlight that when you think of social audio events, keep community in mind. That is the goal. So if you are interested in hosting audio only events to where you can have a deeper connection with individuals, to have that back and forth, answer questions live, build that authority, build that connection, definitely consider social audio events. Keith, I just want to say thank you so much for joining us today. All the gems you dropped, just letting them understand fully the difference between podcasting versus the social audio. What's next? The different things that are available. We didn't even get to touch the different things as far as Loom and all of that other stuff, Luma, all the different things that are available. So I would say if you do have time, definitely go to the after party. And Keith, I would just say he is just an open book of knowledge. And I just want to say thank you, Richard, for joining us on stage, as well as you, Bez. I was really excited to see you join. I think this is my first time having you with me. So it's a pleasure. Nice to officially meet you on my platform. Thank you for joining, Bez.
Well, it's nice to meet you too. I know we're supposed to try to get together. I know Keith introduced us, so I know you reached out, and sorry I didn't get back to you. I just wrapped up 10 weeks of a fire hydrant, and so I've got some extra space for space. So I'd be happy to connect with you.
No, you're completely okay. I literally just got back in the country yesterday from being on spring break with my daughter, and I just want to thank everyone that was watching live, your comments. Thank you so much. Actually, Keith, we got a comment. It's asking where's the after party. So if you want to post that link.
The after party there is at LinkedIn, but I'll put I'll put the link specifically here. But please follow me on LinkedIn. And what I'd love to do is I would love to have 10 people on stage because I just love the conversations. So the after party, I'll get the link here. The restream that doesn't make these live, so it's actually very cumbersome. But if you follow me on LinkedIn, I'll send you a direct link. So my LinkedIn account is linkedin.com. Actually, it's linkedin.com/in keithkeller.au. Please follow me there. We'll see if I can edit that.
And then the QR code is also on the screen. So if you have
there it is.
Yeah. Make sure you
And
take a picture.
it's actually what we're talking about. Look, we want to connect. Look how hard LinkedIn is making this for us. Like, we want to connect, but LinkedIn is making it really, really, really clumsy for us to connect. There should be a button, shouldn't there? Go to event. There should just be a button, shouldn't there?
I agree.
But you've got to go. I'm just gonna have a quick break, make a cup of tea. Please connect with me on LinkedIn, linkedin.com Keith Keller AU. I'll start in about 10 minutes, and everyone is welcome. We can have up to 10 people on stage. We're going to pick up on what we've talked about today. We're going to go deeper. We're going to talk more about Go Brunch. We're going to talk more about Luma. We're going to talk more about Bez's cool career sprint, which I know he's exhausted from, but was a great effort. We're going to talk more about that. I'm putting words in Bez's mouth now, but I hope he can come. So give me 10 minutes. I'm just going to make a cup of tea and do a sort of a human refresh, and we'll meet you on the other side.
Thank you so much, Keith, for joining me this evening. Take care, everyone.
All right. We'll see you later.
Goodbye.